Hello everyone, hope you're all well. I thought today I would review a film that I really like, and that film is Eraserhead. I think this film is possibly one of the best films I've ever seen. It is definitely one of my favourite films I've ever watched. There's just something about it that I can really resonate with. It has a certain sense of aura about it, and to me just feels really close, and I really enjoy it. So let's get started. Eraserhead is directed by David Lynch, and it stars a young man named Henry, and he lives in a dark and dreary world, and then suddenly his girlfriend tells him that she's pregnant, and his world completely goes upside down. But yeah, that's my take on the film. It's not particularly one note like a lot of other films are. It's quite unnatural, and it's a metaphorical masterpiece on a take on where a man becomes a father. And I think it's kind of clever how everything's portrayed a certain way, and it really is just a man just completely going absolutely crazy. From the opening shot, we get something quite unnatural and also reminiscent from the trailer Alien. And it almost tells you what this film is going to be. And like I was saying, it's not particularly one note. So once you see that scene, you know this is going to be some sort of strange experience. It's not a proper horror film where there's jump scares and everything, but the subjects and themes are horrific. As a matter of fact, there isn't really any dialogue in the first 5-10 minutes. It's just ambient sounds as we are just shown these vivid images, what could be described as the strangest sex scene ever filmed. Again, that's my take on what the first 3 minutes were. There's just certain sort of imagery that's going on, and the way Lynch portrays this world is quite simple yet interesting at the same time. And in these little segments, Henry is just walking around this industrial plant, and that's just pretty much where he lives, and everything is pretty much just run down and decrepit. Jack Nance plays his character so well. The character itself, he's just an awkward person, and the first time we actually hear him speak, from my take, he sounded quite rude to this lady, but then as soon as he steps inside, he looks worried again, like in the opening shot. Almost regretful at times, and it seems like he's done something wrong all the time. Throughout this film, he just looks like he's just committed a crime or something, and he just looks so afraid. I believe this film wouldn't have the same effect if it was in colour, as it would lose some of that sense of surrealism. It works in black and white because it's an almost impossible feat to make sense and not believable, but you buy into what's happening because of the world. And believe me, this film is trying to not be as realistic as possible, and I do like a film that actually uses surrealism and makes it work, because it's an almost impossible feat to make sense and not believable, but you still buy into what's happening. In Henry's second interaction, he seems quite sad as his girlfriend has apparently been avoiding him. So she invites him round for dinner, and the next 7 minutes is probably the best piece of film I've ever seen in my entire life.
The girls have heard this before, but 14 years ago, I had an operation on my arm here. Doctors said I wouldn't be able to use it. Well, what the hell do they know, I said. And I rubbed it for a half hour every day. And then I got so I could move it a little. And I got so I could turn a faucet. And pretty soon I had my arm back again. Now I can't feel a damn thing in it. All numb. I'm afraid to cut it, you know? Mary usually does the carving, but maybe tonight you'll do it, Henry. All right with you?
Of course. I'd be happy to. Do I just cut them up like regular chickens?
Sure, just cut them up like regular chickens. You'll be all right in a minute.
Excuse me.
It goes from really awkward to really funny back to awkward, and it blends really well together. So when Henry's girlfriend has the baby, from the first scene you can kind of tell she doesn't like the child as much, almost a certain feeling of disgust. Henry on the other hand adores his child. He almost seems happier with both his wife and his child at home with him. It's almost as if Henry has lived on his own for his whole entire life, and now that he has a family he can actually have people with him and actually have interaction. Until one night his girlfriend decides to leave to get some sleep, and it annoys Henry to a certain degree as he would rather her stay. We get a scene where Henry watches his version of a television, and it shows a woman dancing on these dead fetuses, and they fall above from her, and she continues dancing until she steps on one of them, and she continues to step on them, almost promoting the idea of killing them. I view this as a sort of anti-abortion type thing. Upon some thoughts, I think this film has some religious undertones. The first sin, I would say, is premarital sex will probably give you a deformed child. The second, cheating on your wife will lead you to a horrifying death until one of these gentlemen brings you back to life. I think this scene establishes that if a man can rub out the lead with the rubber, then Henry can be allowed to live, even though he has committed 2 sins in his life, but it's not like they can't be forgiven, so he has another chance. Or I'm just waffling and it was a terrible dream, but I don't like to think it was that. And then after this scene, Henry is regretting yet another thing and stares at the empty bed. And then soon later, Henry grabs some scissors and sits next to his son and ponders for a bit, and then he cuts open his son and kills him. Henry can't even look at his child whilst he dies. Henry stares into the dark abyss and sees the person controlling his actions the entire time, trying to pull the levers. Then Henry embraces the lady from the show. Film cuts to black. A pretty strange film. I believe the film is a poetic piece of establishing the horrors of becoming a father and a husband, as there are many stereotypes on what a man should be. A man should be up to all these tasks as established in this film. But Henry can't do any of these things. He is a coward, he's jumpy when he hears dogs in the distance, he tries avoiding social discussions, He is full of regret and angst. He is pressured very easily, as shown at the dinner scene. And then finally, when the woman seduces him very easily. Henry is not ready to be a man. He's a kid. The way he walks, especially in this scene, is almost childlike. I think this is truly one of the best films possibly ever made, and I relish in watching this masterpiece of a film. Thank you for watching.